So, all right, guys, we got to get this one right. On three, we're going to say, welcome back to Extraordinary Thoughts Put on Their Mind. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome back to Extraordinary Minds.
And we back.
That'll work right there.
Yeah.
And we back. And we
Yeah.
back. And we back. And we back. And we
Y'all did y'all best. And that's all that matters.
Now, before we get started with this episode, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like this episode, share this podcast, and if you can, do me a favor, head on down to the review section and leave an honest review, because this podcast was dedicated to helping us become a better version of ourselves. And I don't know what that version is, but I know that just like we need a little bit more money, just like we need a little bit more sleep, just like we need a little bit more of anything in life, we deserve to be a little better than what we are right now. What's going on, everybody? It's that ordinary podcaster with the extraordinary thoughts that tells you to stop being great and be extraordinary. I'm your host, Demetrius Thickpen, also known as Meech Speaks, and welcome back to another episode of Extraordinary Thoughts for the Ordinary Mind. All right, so good morning. I hope everybody's Monday morning is great, and I hope that you're about to get the day started. But, God, dude, I sound so fake. I sound so fake in the beginning of the episodes. You know what I mean? Like, good morning, like I sound fake. You know what I mean? But just understand that I'm really coming from a genuine place. I really am. But today I hit a milestone. You know, I hit a milestone on social media, and I ended up getting, I finally got 10,000 followers. And I say it's a milestone because it really is a milestone when you're trying to grow, your presence on social media, to essentially have like that 10K marker. Now, as I say it, it kind of sounds petty. You feel me? Like, it kind of sounds shallow. But once again, if you're trying to grow your social media, you're always going to have that goal of your following, your impressions, your reach, who you're interacting with, obviously the audience. So to finally hit 10,000 followers, I was like this, okay, go Meech. But I got it on TikTok. You know what I mean? Like, I got 10,000 followers on TikTok and not Instagram. And I say that because for those who have been like really like tapped in with me and been following me since day one, they know that I actually started on Instagram. You feel me? Back in like 2019. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, I've always had a social media, like whether it was Black Planet, whether it was Facebook, whether it was, Instagram, because I do like social media. You know what I mean? Like, people sit back and then say like, oh, well, social media is taken away from our interaction, our day-to-day interaction and shit like that. And I always thought that was kind of bullshit. And that's an episode for a different day. So, but me growing on social media, I once again, I've always been on Instagram. And my thing is that growing and building and fine-tuning, all of that was done on Instagram. And that was done for 3 years. Everybody, I built a community over there. I ended up just going, coming over to TikTok, because I was like, hey, it's all about like the real estate. You feel me? Like, you should be at different places. And I made my TikTok, I want to say earlier this year. Dropped a couple of videos earlier that year, but then I realized I was like, TikTok's just not for me. And I went back to Instagram. Came back 2 months later, dropped a couple of more videos and stayed consistent with it on TikTok. And it just blew up. So to see that I got 10K over there and not on the one that I wanted, it was kind of a bittersweet moment. And I really had to stop myself. I really just had to stop myself for a second. Because I don't know who needs to hear this, but comparison is the killer of joy. And I'll say that again, because comparison is the killer of joy. Like, every time that you try to compare, every time like you receive some type of success and then you compare it to somebody else, to something else, to another thing, you're killing the joy that you got. And I really just want to say this real quick, because I don't know who needs to hear it, but it's okay for you to win. You feel me? Like, it's really okay for you to win. Like, a lot of us, like, we probably have taken so many L's in life that when we finally receive a W, like it feels weird to us. You know what I mean? Like we've taken so many L's. We've always received something good, but then in the moment that we get excited about having something good in our life, we immediately are hit with something bad. So we never are used to taking in good things. That the moment that we do get something good happen in our life again, we immediately already try to downplay it to prepare for the negativity that's about to come. So I'm just going to tell you right now, it's okay. It's okay to take a W. You feel me? It's okay for you to, have that win that you have been working towards. It's okay. And I know I'm saying, it seems like I'm saying that to somebody else, but I'm really saying that to myself. Because that was the first thing that I had to, that was the first thing that I started doing. I started to compare, like, why I ain't get 10K on Instagram? Why I had to be on TikTok? Why is it that, I've been working so hard on one thing, but it ain't been showing, but here I am on another platform and it is. It got so bad that I started looking at other people's accounts, wondering why they blew up and I didn't. So when I tell you that comparison, right? Like comparison is the killer of joy. Comparison is the killer of joy. And that it is okay. It's okay for you to take a W. And I just really want to just close out something before we even get started with this episode is that regardless of, how many people you have, that follow you on your social media, you know what I mean? And for some people that may not be a big thing. You know what I mean? Like it may not be a big thing. Me personally, I would rather have 10K subscribers than 10K followers. But don't get, what's that word? Don't get discouraged if your account's not growing. You feel me? I feel like that's something that we definitely need to say often. Is that don't get discouraged if your account isn't growing. Don't get discouraged if you're not seeing the results. Don't get discouraged if you don't feel like the fruits of your labor are starting to show. Don't get discouraged. Because when you put it into a different perspective, there are so many things that are showing, or if you put it into a different perspective, you don't even realize how big it is. And I use, social media as an example because we always look at our following and we say like it's not a lot. You're just looking at it in a different perspective. For somebody that has, I don't know, let's say they have 200 followers on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, whatever. On those platforms, that doesn't seem like a lot. But have you ever been in a room with 200 people? Like, have you ever seen a room filled with 200 people? It's a fucking lot. You know what I mean? So like if you got 1,000 people following you on Instagram, if you got 8,000 people following you on Instagram, like really take that number into consideration that if you walked into a room and it was filled with 8,000 people and they came to see you, that'd be a humbling experience for you. Imagine getting on stage and you see 8,000 people in the crowd. That's a lot. That's still a lot. So once again, don't get discouraged if the account seems like it's growing slow. Instagram's algorithm is all fucked up, to be honest with you. But don't get discouraged. Because when you look at it in a different perspective, it will really change your mindset. The real topic of and what really brought me to this episode was go where you can grow. And I'll say that one more time is that go where you can grow. We spend so much of our lives pouring into something. You know what I mean? Like we pour so much energy into something and we are afraid to let it go. We're afraid to lose it. We're afraid to move on from it because of the amount of time we have already committed to it. And I just really just want to just let you know that, to be honest with you, we got to stop looking at shit like it's wine. You know how they always say that wine tastes better when it's aged, but some things don't get better with age. They don't get better with time. They don't get better with how much time that you put in it, or it don't work like that. I really had to take that into consideration as well. Like, yeah, I've been pouring so much into Instagram. Like, I've been pouring so much. That's my platform. That's where I've been. I was on the reels. I got a community. That's where everybody know me. I'm pouring all of this. TikTok, I only been on there for like really a year. It's one of those things of go where you can grow. Just because you have put time into something does not mean that you are bound by it. Time does not equate to loyalty. Sometimes time won't equate to quality. Sometimes, like, you're stuck in a situation. You feel me? Like, you stay stuck into a situation because of the time that was put in it. Not realizing that you about to pass up on your opportunity. Not realizing that you about to pass up on something that is probably right for you. You feel me? But you gonna miss out on it because you want to stay with something that you've been with for so long. When I talk about that, man, like it get broken down into three things for me. And the first one is definitely relationships. I've seen it. I've seen so many people stay in a relationship for the sake of time. Oh, I've been with so and so for X amount of years, and we've been through so much together, and I just feel like we can just work it out, and I don't want to start over with nobody else. Nah. That sounds like some bullshit. You feel me? Because if it ain't serving you, you feel me? Like if it ain't growing you, you know what I mean? Like if they're not benefiting you, then it's time to move on. We get so caught up in chasing after our twin flame, not realizing that it was our soulmate that we really needed. We get so caught up in the idea that because I have been with this person for so fucking long, that this is who I'm supposed to be with. You met them when you was 18, 19, 20. Here you are now in your late 20s. And you thinking that you about to spend the rest of your life, or let me rephrase that you should spend the rest of your life with this person because of the amount of time that you have been with this person, not realizing that you have grown since you were 18, 19, and 20. That you have realized things about yourself since you were 18, 19, and 20. Not realizing that you have actually outgrown that person. And I'm not just talking about in a romantic relationship. I'm also talking about in a friendship. And my military folk, we know this all too well. You know what I mean? Like, imagine growing up with somebody in your hometown and you thinking y'all about to be best friends. And then you move away and you come back and you realize you ain't got nothing in common with this person no more. And that's because of the experiences that you have witnessed, the things you have seen, the time that you have spent on your own has allowed you to develop into the person that you are right now, and that person just no longer fits with them. And I just really want to let anybody who's listening right now know that that is okay. It's okay. It's okay that you outgrow your best friend for X amount of years. It's okay that you outgrow your high school sweetheart. It's okay that you may have may have a relationship with somebody, and you may even have a kid with that person. But then you realize that you have grown. I know somebody right now that spent 9 years in a relationship. You feel me? Relationship ends, and now they found somebody new and they happy. You know what I mean? They happy. They smiling and shit. They ain't smiled in so long that they forgot what that even feels like. They muscles, the muscles in their face be getting sore because they be smiling so much. And I can't stress this enough, man. Like, just because you spent so much time with somebody, that don't mean anything. You can spend 20 years with somebody and meet somebody the next day, somebody new the next day, and they will bring more value into your life than that person who had been holding up a spot in your life for 20 years. Of holding up a spot, man. Like, let's talk about career paths. Because I know some people right now who went to college and spent X amount of time, effort, and money for a degree that they're not even passionate about. I know somebody right now working at a job that they don't want for money that they need. They staying at this job because they've been at this job for X amount of years. Well, wishful thinking of promises of hoping for a promotion that's never going to come. Or just staying at the job because the money is decent enough for you to get by and that you don't want to go through the hassle of finding a new job. You don't want to go through that hassle. Not realizing that your passion, your dream, your aspiration, you feel me? It's falling to the wayside. It's going unloved. It's going malnourished because you're not feeding it no more. You don't want to dive into it no more because you don't want to take that risk. And I really just want to just say this real quick, that I understand that taking risk is scary. I get that. But when you put it into perspective, right? Like, you remember when I talked about that earlier when I said, like, if you just change the perspective of something, we talk about like starting over is scary. But imagine spending, imagine reading a book, or imagine hearing about a character. Imagine hearing about somebody that you love, that's somebody that's close to you, and they spent their entire life unfulfilled, unhappy. Like, you could literally see an outline of how unhappy they are. Isn't that shit scary? You feel me? Isn't that scary? And then the crazy part about it is that if it wasn't us, we would tell that person, dog, you crazy. Dog, you stupid. Man, if you don't take that leap. Man, if you don't leave that person. Like, man, if you just don't get over the idea of starting over and just start over with somebody, with something, and go somewhere where you will be appreciated. If it was somebody else, we would have that advice to say. So why don't we just say it to ourselves then? Because the reality is that you at a career right now that you're not happy at. Each morning you get upset because you know that you're not doing what you was made for. Each morning you get upset because you feel like you wasted so much time and now you feel stuck going to somewhere that you hate. Knowing deep down that if you just get over this idea, right? Like getting over this idea of starting over and just start over, you will finally have a taste of happiness that you desperately have been deserving. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. As I sit back and I think about the social media, and as I think about just the times where I have taken a leap on faith, you know what I mean, and just started something new. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the idea of me joining the military. Born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. Everybody that I know is still in Detroit, Michigan. And I'm sitting back, and I remember when I told everybody that I was going to join the military and nobody believed in it. You feel me? Nobody believed in it. And it would be a crazy feeling if I just would have, stayed. If I would have stayed, who I would have became. It's somebody right now stuck in an environment, let me rephrase that, stuck in a same city. You know what I mean? Stuck in the same city, the same state, and they gonna die there. Because they're afraid to leave the city. They're afraid to leave the state because they got shit holding them back like family. They got shit holding them back like friends. They got shit holding them back like comfortability. They don't want to get up and leave because they don't know what they gonna do out there. They're afraid that if they fall on their face, they stuck out there. And I get it. Those are all rational feelings. But if I would have listened to those, would I be the person that I am right now? Would I be the man that I am right now? Would I have the experiences that I have right now? Would I have even started a podcast, became a speaker, joined the military? I probably wouldn't have. I'd have been a statistic. And maybe it wouldn't be a bad statistic, but it would have been a statistic nonetheless. I'll tell you right now, man, like, I don't know who needs to hear this, and I really want this to echo throughout your entire week if you feeling it. Go where you will grow. If that relationship don't serve you, you feel me? Then go. Because I can assure you right now, somebody that ain't going to appreciate you, the person that ain't appreciating you right now, somebody else will. I can assure you that. If that career ain't serving you, then it's time to go ahead and create your exit plan and your immediate exit plan and go ahead and go. If you feel like you tired of seeing the same fucking shit in your environment and you know deep down in your core that you destined for something else. Deep down in your core, you destined for something more, for something greater, then it's time to go. It's time to go. Go where you will grow. And just like that, another extraordinary thought left this ordinary mind. I hope you enjoyed this episode half as much as I enjoyed making it. Stay tuned every Monday as we bring you another episode. And lastly, don't forget to like this podcast, subscribe to this podcast, and share this podcast, because this podcast was dedicated to helping you become a better version of yourself. And I don't know who needs to hear that, but just like we need more sleep, just like we need more money, we deserve to be a better version of ourselves. Stay hungry, stay motivated. I'm out.